Practitioner tries to keep his mind out of the past and out of the future and in the present. And you may ask yourself, why does he want to do that? Because you can only create in the present, which creates your new future. If you put your mind into the future, what you're really doing is using the calculating aspect of the mind. But this is not here or there. What I'm trying to say is that it appears as if, and since I'm a practitioner, I do this, it appears as if I am supposed to be discussing perceptions, at least in the here and the now. How do I know what it is that I'm supposed to be doing now? It's because I'm listening to the wisdom aspect of my mind. Your wisdom aspect can speak to you. In fact, I will cover this. Trust me, I promise you, I'll cover this in another video. But this particular video, I want to talk about how the practitioner sees the higher self and what the perception or how the higher self views your life or lives, if that makes sense. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a discussion about karma, because you got to understand karma, at least to a point to really be able to, shall we say, grasp the multidimensional nature, which is your true nature. You are a multidimensional being, but just don't know it. All right, there is a tablet. It's called the Jade Tablet, and I'm going to take a line from that because it's going to help you in understanding how your higher self, spirit, there's tons of different terminology for it, use the path. To be able to really truly understand this, you're going to have to study up a bit on karma. I'm going to do some videos on it at one point or another, but we're going to touch briefly on it. But you're going to have to accept the idea that your consciousness is energy. Energy is never destroyed. It can be reborn over and over again. So let's look at this concept that the Jade Tablet has. Very simple and to the point. I talked about that. When the masters give an instruction, generally it's very simple and to the point. It's our inability to understand the truth of it, which makes it complicated. So here's an axiom, or you could call it a law of nature. As above, so below. Now, what does that mean? If I want to understand how the higher realms work, which I cannot see normally within the physical body, because the physical body doesn't have the capabilities of doing it, then what I'm going to have to do is look for clues in the physical to tell me what I'm actually doing in the metaphysical or the higher realms. I hate to use the term higher. Everything is holy in itself. Everything is spiritual. Everything is blessed. But let's go ahead and use a term higher self or higher realm, because that's the paradigm that you guys are used to looking at. So if I look at my life, what is my life? My life is a series of events over and over again. Okay, generally speaking, we make the same mistakes over and over until what? We discover that there's no happiness to be found in it, and we finally just abandon it and say that we've had enough. But let's look at it from another concept. When I was a young man, I used to do a job at McDonald's because that was all that I was capable of doing at that particular time. My experiences, my education didn't allow me to move beyond a job of McDonald's. I was 16 at the time, and I could only do a part-time job. Then I got a little bit older. I started to gain more experience. What did I do? I got a better job that paid more that I thought was going to make me happy. Again, remember, I'm going to switch jobs because I believe that switching that job is going to give me happiness. So I do that job for a while. I discover it's not giving me what I want. It's not making me happy. And I've gained what? More experience, more knowledge, more maturity. What do? I do another job. I'll quit that job and move into another position. Because again, I believe that that job is going to make me happy, that it's going to give me what I want. This happens over and over and over again. It could be marriages, it could be, it doesn't matter. The point of the matter is that every time I switched a job, I'm just looking at jobs right now to keep it simple. You guys can meditate on it and you'll see it that it occurs in almost every aspect of your life. But let's look at jobs. And then now let's look at the higher self when it looks at the path and its existence. It does it the exact same way. So your physical body dies. Your higher self, spirit, whatever, is going to be looking down upon the earth and say, oh, wait, here's an opening for a life. I want to experience that life. Keep in mind that spirit is only going to be able to experience a life to the capability of its experiences. Just as, let's say I'm a new soul, and I was a 16-year-old. I had to work at McDonald's. Well, a new soul is going to pick a life or do a life that it's only able to do from its experiences. Is this making more sense? The neophyte or the beginner, he's going to say, but wait a minute, if I'm born into a new body, aren't I somebody different? Well, yes. But you can also see the same thing within your life. Are you that same 16-year-old that was working at McDonald's? Really, think about it. You actually are almost a whole different person by the time you hit 30 years of age. You are no longer a burger flipper. Perhaps you're a lawyer. That's your identity now as a lawyer. You have a whole different set of wants and desires, of priorities. You are, in a sense, basically a whole different person. But I want you to keep in mind, the you is still the same. That sense of I am hasn't changed. And we knew this as children. When we heard the concept of death, we were like, wait a minute, there's no such thing as death. We knew that because we still had that connection to the other side. We still had that connection to the I am. So your I am remains the same from life to life to life. And your higher self knows that. It's looking at a good analogy. I really like this analogy. It's looking at each life as a new job to get at what it wants. Now, here's the funny thing. Many higher selves don't even know what they really want. They believe that just like you want happiness. And they believe each life is going to give them happiness until the soul expands enough to realize, wait a minute, no, what I really want is the path. I want to reconnect to, again, use your terminology. You can call it the Tao, you can call it the Creator, you can call it God, you can call it the universe, whatever you want to call it. What it realizes is, in truth, it wants to return back to the source, back to where it came from, to become, again, part of the whole. Sum up the concept of the higher self. It knows that it can move from life to life with a seamless continuity of consciousness, just as you consciously, or you retained a consciousness moving from job to job. It's seamless to the spirit. To you, since you are trapped within this particular life, it appears as if that life is a whole. There's a beginning and an end to it. Well, there is and there isn't. There's a beginning and an end to this life, but there's not a beginning and an end to your consciousness. You will still be you once you die. So I'm hoping I'm kind of answering Daniel's question. And I want to bring up one thing. He asked, how do you quicken your walk along the path? And I replied that you already are going as fast as you can. The only thing that you can control is that walk along the path. Is it going to be easier or harder? Remember, it's your consciousness that becomes the Buddha, the immortal, the Christ, whatever terminology that you want to use. Not your body, but your consciousness.